Good evening and welcome to the Hemingway Jones Pen Show live. Happy to be here. Hello to everyone. Before I begin, I do want to say that I do have quite a few people who watch the channel from the UK. The UK is really close to my heart for many reasons, and just want to extend my condolences for the loss of your head of state. It's not an easy thing, I'm sure, to go through. It's like somebody has rearranged all the furniture in your national lineup there. So I'm sure it's tough times, and you have a lot of friends in America. So keep your chins up. Wishing you all the best. Okay, pen check time. We have this evening. I'm sure many of you already know what this is. This is the mighty Pilot Custom 823. One of the best things about this right now is that it ran out of ink yesterday. And it's exciting when this pen runs out of ink because each ink that you put in here sort of is expressed slightly differently when it goes through this amazing nib. And it's also so fun to fill. And I played very dangerous with this. If you fill it, you dip it in, do the plunger, and it does the nice whoosh. If you very carefully do it again without squirting it, you certainly could squirt it across the room. But if you very carefully dip it again, you can get an even larger fill. And I did that successfully without bathing in the ink. So if you're curious which ink I have in there right now, it's antique copper. So it's the amber pen with antique copper. And let me tell you, it really jumps off the page. It's a fantastic shade. So super excited. Pilot Custom 823 is one of my favorites. So happy to have everyone here who's here. If not, I know a lot of you catch the replay. Always happy to have you on the channel. If you're watching the channel, please subscribe. I'd love to make sure you see everything and that you're part of the conversation. And the conversation in the comments is reminding me that I should probably show you what the ink looks like in action. And conveniently, I have a nice Clairefontaine flip top notebook. These are great, by the way, if you're recording things for YouTube or for other social medias, although I'm less and less connected to other social media these days. YouTube and Instagram are kind of my focus. TikTok is kind of a sham, you guys. It's just full of bots, and their algorithm is just a mess. But let's take a look, shall we? I'll try to do this without turning away from you too terribly. So also, I'm writing at a very strange angle, so forgive my handwriting. But I think you guys know that I can write just about anywhere. I am very good at that. And I can speak while I write because I do that quite a bit. Although it is a bit of a schizophrenic thing, your hand is writing something in your internal monologue while you speak. Occasionally I mess it up. I'm sure you guys have done it too. It's not that easy all the time. So here we go. It's going to be backward for you. Sorry about that. But very nice shade. Very, very good color. Hello to George, if George is on. So just wanted to cover a bunch of stuff, talk a bit about the channel, talk a bit about pens. I think we've already started with the Pilot Custom 823. To do a nice transition, one of the things I'm thinking about is what would be your one pen collection? So if you truly had to whittle it down to one pen, what would it be? When you think about that as an exercise, it's not as easy as you think, because you might think about one of your precious pens, something like this. But then would you really want to carry that in every situation? So maybe something like a TWSBI would be perfect, like a TWSBI VAC 700 or something along those lines. So it's kind of an interesting concept if you're somebody who has more than 6, 7 pens to try to think of that one that would meet all your occasions. Then if you introduce the concept of sentiment into it, I think of the pens my wife gave me, like the Mont Blanc Gyptomania, the Mont Blanc 149, which could easily be my everyday pen because it was for about 6, 7 years. So there's something nice about that. And something I wanted to say about the channel, and it's sort of about this whole concept of being online, reviewing pens, talking about pens. One of the differences with me and some of the folks that may or may not be out there talking about pens is that some of us, we, some people are selling pens. I'm not selling pens. I'm a pen enthusiast. So I am curious about the experience of writing and how each individual pen works. So, what drives me every day is that experience of writing and journaling. And as I've told you before, sort of using it to be more productive and for mental health. Then I get curious, you see a pen and it's beautiful. And it's like, let's talk about something like Esterbrook just came out with the SD Flex, which is probably a Yoho Flex. I don't know. I didn't read up on it yet, but I'm going to get my hands on it on Saturday, and I'll be able to speak with Brian about it at the Commonwealth Pen Show. And I'm really curious about that. I love Esterbrook pens. I think they're beautiful, and I think their nibs are beautiful and write amazingly well, consistently with the ones I have. So I love them. But I'm not a commerce. I don't sell pens. I just like them. So I feel sometimes that we all get into this black hole of sort of consumerism. And I'll tell you where it begins to concern me. I see it in the comments sometimes where someone will get very personal in their attacks based on brand affiliation. And I find it a little disturbing because if you guys like Mont Blanc or you don't, I don't mind. You are entitled to like whatever pen you like. In fact, if you don't like me or my presentation or the way I edit something or whatever, that's all valid. But I get sometimes angry personal attacks in the comment section over pens, over, and not just Mont Blanc, but different things. Lamy gets a lot of grief. Kaweco, all brands that I love quite a bit. And it got me thinking that some people internalize brands to the point where it's fused with their identity, right? And I find that disturbing. I really do. Because all of these are companies and some of them have great histories. Some of them are resurrected, where they are a group of people that bought the name that used to exist. But whatever it is, some of them have continuity, and I love heritage. I love the story of a brand. But when it becomes infused with your identity, that you feel the need to attack someone personally on it, it just seems excessive and odd. And along with it, I hear things like people say, or don't you know that everyone blank, or people on pen forums say, or whatever. It's like this. It seems either they're trying to assuage their attack by coming at you by sort of creating allies, or they don't have the courage of conviction to say, I think based on. Because personally, if I do a video about a pen, I generally know what people think of it. I've been around long enough where I get feedback. So, what a certain forum might think, or other YouTuber or something, that's not what my perspective is, because I owe it to you guys to give you my opinion, my unabashed opinion. But my ultimate goal with these videos is not to sell you a pen. It's anti Jordan there from Wolf of Wall Street. It's to inspire you guys to write, to think more about this hobby that we're in, and to entertain you above anything else. I wouldn't want to be didactic. I wouldn't want to be tedious. I just want you to see something pretty and think of it in a different way, get entertained by the history and the story of it, and then be maybe a little bit more inspired to put your fountain pens to work, but not to buy. And certainly not to draw lines where you feel the need to attack me personally because I happen to like a Lamy Safari or a Kaweco. It's bizarre. You shouldn't subvert your individuality to a brand. Now, where brand is helpful and branding is helpful, I only shop at a handful of clothes places because I know my size, I know what I like, and probably because I've been wearing it for 30 years. Take Lacoste, right? How many colors of these have you seen me in, right? I mean, I don't even know how many Lacoste polo shirts I have, but many of them are 15 years old, right? This is actually an older one. You can kind of tell it's curling. But so there's some things that I buy brand because I know what to expect. So I shop at Courtings of Piccadilly. Almost, all my work clothes, a lot of my casual clothes comes from Courtings. A little tiny bit from L.O. Bean. In the old days, I shopped at Brooks Brothers. Their quality fell off. I stopped. J Press, I shop at. So there's these places. I wear some Carhartt too, especially when I'm working around the house. So it's shorthand to get something good. Similarly, in the pen world, I love Waterman. Waterman pens got me started. I've always had them in my collection. I find them really interesting. One of my, I guess, I'm thinking if my favorite right now is my Charleston. Love that pen. So it's sort of shorthand to get something good and reliable. I've had very good luck with Mont Blanc. I find them very reliable. Do I think there's a good value there? Not really. I mean, $900 for a pen. If I wasn't getting them as a gift, I would probably try for a used one because I'm hard on my stuff. It's going to look like that in 2 or 3 months anyway. But I'm also at the point in my life where I can buy things that are pricey, but I'm aware of being more discerning with things. So when the Mont Blanc Flex nib came up, I jumped on it, but I also got it at the best price I could. It was like 6 instead of 9 because I used the strong dollar right now and bought it overseas. I was strategic about it. And I'm very pleased to have it. But the cost of entry to Mont Blanc is very high. You may not be willing to pay that. That's completely valid. What's not valid are personal attacks on people who look at a value proposition differently or look at any attribute of a thing differently. Because, guys, I know you guys that are there in the audience, it's just a freaking pen, it's a pen. We enjoy them, we love them, but it's not worth arguing over. You like it, I don't. I do, you don't. I don't know in which part of me I could summon up enough vile to hate an inanimate object. It's the opposite of objectophilia. Have you guys seen my latest video on the Mont Blanc 149? It's like a peon to the Mont Blanc, which has been very good to me. I've had it for years. It's been with me through a lot of life-changing events. My wife bought it for me before she was my wife. Super sentimental attachment. Fantastic pen. Fits my hand brilliantly. Love it. Love it separately from all that. Love it more because of all that. So just a brilliant pen. But within it, it starts objectophilia is, when you fall in love with an inanimate object. People fall in love with a lot of things, with cars, with houses. But is it possible to fall in love with a pen? Well, it is. But is it possible then to hate one? Or not even to hate one, but to hate someone else who likes one? So I just find it interesting. But I've been speaking a lot. I'm going to start looking at your comments here, which I do appreciate. Thank you all for joining me this evening. It's always a pleasure, you guys. I love these lives. I feel very connected. See a lot of the same names here that I see in my comments, which is really exciting. Alfredo, friend of the channel, fantastic. Sextus Pompeius, my favorite Roman emperor who joins us regularly, and another friend of the channel. So did you buy a Waterman 52.5? Yes, he did. Look at you. So looks like Sextus bought a Waterman 52.5. Are you guys familiar with that pen? It's a very interesting one. It's about 100 years old. The one I have is hard rubber. It's very small and very elegant. And it has the most flexible nib you've ever used in your life. It's floppy. The only other nib I own that's close to that is not the 146 Flex. It's not that pen. It's the Egyptomania. The Egyptomania and the Waterman 52.5 are so close, guys. So close. The difference is the Waterman 52.5 gives you some serious line variation, and the Egyptomania is just soft and a joy to use. So it's a little different. But this pen is brilliant. It doesn't hold a lot of ink, which for me is a plus, because this, you guys, holds a lot of ink. This is going to be in there for, I'm going to be writing with this, especially with all the other pens I have and all the other work I do on pens. It's going to be in here for a while. So it's kind of refreshing. I don't want to push the clip too hard, so I'm just going to place it down. It's kind of refreshing when you get something like a Waterman 52.5 that only holds about enough ink for a page and a half of journaling, maybe 2 or 3 pages, and then you fill it up again. But remember, in the old days, you had this sitting on your desk. So it was super easy to fill anytime you want. So pretty cool. Eagle Strike is here. Very cool. I see a lot of Diamine fans. So very good. Michael Davis uses ancient copper in the brass sport. I used to do that too. I like the idea of something that's metal in metal, right? The idea of copper within brass was really appealing. And it's a good color, but what I did differently is that I normally use the Kaweco calligraphy nib, their 1.1 stub. And so I put in sheening ink these days, like Moonview 2 or Moonview 1, whichever Moonview I have on hand. Or I think right now I have For Whom the Bell Tolls in there by Van Jul, which is a very cool color, a very good ink. Michael Davis brings up something very interesting about the King's fountain pens fiasco and whether Parker may lose its royal warrant. I heard that's a custom Parker pen that Charles uses. And it's really interesting because in the last 48 hours, guys, fountain pens have been in the news in a big way, and not in a positive way. 3 times, actually. 2 with Charles and 1 with someone else. I'll get to in a minute. So first, Charles had a really nice Inkwell on a silver platter. It was in the way. He asked an aide to move it. He looked a little perturbed. I think he needs to relax a little and get used to his role, as anybody would in that position. But he had a little bit of trouble with his pen. Then actually William signed, and he used the crooked left-handed posture that we've seen quite a bit from people trying to avoid smearing. That got mentioned as well, which was interesting. And that's not the other person. We'll get to that. And then today, Charles got really upset. He got a little bit of ink on his finger, and he got the date wrong. I'm sure he has a lot of things on his mind, not the least of which is that he just lost his mom. But nevertheless, you have to roll with it, I guess. And that's an acquired comportment, right? So the third person, I don't know if anybody knows who the third person is, but I'll tell you, it's Rudolph Giuliani. So reports are that Rudolph Giuliani, before his fortunes reversed, he was very down and out, and then he was high on top, and now he's about as low as a public figure could possibly be. No one takes him seriously anymore, which is sad. He was America's mayor. But there you go. That was his path. So $15,000 a month, and it was, I believe, $7,000 on cigars and $8,000 on fountain pens, supposedly. It's probably just 1 month. He probably bought a couple of Mont Blanc Writers editions, or that Dante Alighieri pen from, who makes that? Is it Visconti? Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to remember. It's pretty cool. So there are your fountain pen mentions. I don't think the last time fountain pens were in the media was when they popped up in Moon Knight. Did you guys see Moon Knight, where Ethan Hawke's character had a Lamy Safari in white? It was pretty nice to see a little bit of product placement there. So always good stuff. I see Simon's with us. Very good. So I'm going to catch up, see what you guys are saying. King Charles needs time to actually grieve. Yeah, he does. You know, that's the thing. Sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes you get thrust into public life too soon. And it's designed that way, right? I mean, the whole idea, you know, the queen is dead, long live the king. It's like you're on center stage and you're scrutinized, just trying to get an idea of what your reign is going to be like. I think similarly for regular people, your parents one day may pass away and you get the call, and then you have to put some kind of plan in action to settle things and, you know, see them out of this world as they would have liked, and then settle their estate and all that while you're grieving. It's not easy. Not at all easy. So, Naive Vet 72. I have a question with the diamine ancient copper. Would it be a good choice for my Visconti fine nib? Does it clog easily? I will say, and I'm sure other folks will chime in if they wish to disagree, the diamine inks are pretty flowy inks. I can't remember a time when they've clogged on me. The only time I get inks that are kind of goopy are sheeny inks or sparkly inks. Shimmer and sheen tend to do you in. And I only put shimmer and sheen inks into TUES, generally broader nibs for TUES. And TUES you can field strip and clean up and not have an issue. So a Visconti, I would put it in there. I would put ancient copper in my 149 without a second thought. So if somebody else disagrees, feel free to chime in. I promise I won't hate you for it. So Wendell Booth, looking to change places to buy suits. Where do I purchase my suits? You're always a sharp dresser. Thanks, Wendell. I really appreciate that. I do. So My suits are from Courtings of Piccadilly, and I have several tweed suits from them, but I don't think I've shown those on the channel yet. You guys are going to see them soon because once the weather shifts and I go record B-roll, I'm going to want to be very toasty, and I'll probably throw on my tweed suits. And I love those. I wear them to the bank. I wear them casually. They're brilliant. Just really nice tweed, high quality, three pieces for those. The business suits also from Courtings are absolutely brilliant. Really high quality. You do have to take them to a tailor, get them sort of remade to you. I have one bespoke suit. It's a double-breasted Prince of Wales um, plaid on silver. Very nice. And then the rest of mine are Fitzgerald's from Brooks Brothers and other Brooks Brothers suits. Now, I'm at the point in my career now, I probably won't buy another suit. I might buy another casual suit like Poplin. I have a Poplin suit. You guys saw my safari suit in a few videos. That was from Courtings. It just happened to match the pants, so it made a perfect suit. But I wear suits so infrequently now that I probably will only buy sport jackets from now on. And I'll go to places like Courtings and J Press for that. So let's see what Matt Swanson says. I've said it before. One of my favorite aspects about you and your channel is you're not snobbish about brands. You're eager to point out how nice a Kaweco Sport is. You're not at all about high-end pens. Thanks, Matt. I am not, guys. I I love fountain pens and I love ones that write. I just don't like disappointing ones when you get them and they're hard starters or clogged. It's so disappointing. I think that Pilot is fantastic as a brand overall. If you can, what I'm talking about from trust and performance, but my Metropolitan, you guys know, I'm just so on. It can be a bit wonky. But I love the Kakuno. The Kakuno has so much personality. There's two in this house. They're both brilliant. I had a pink and a blue. The pink is now with my wife, and I have the blue. I love vanishing points. I think they're a little tough to fill. A lot of people think vanishing points dry up quickly. What is actually happening is they're kind of difficult to fill because the fill is way up. So you have to make sure you have a very deep bottle of ink to fill it in. And then you get a decent fill. But even in that, it doesn't hold a lot. But the experience of writing with that, brilliant, so much fun. The Pilot E95S, love it. So I'm going off. I'm just listing pen brands here. But to me, the status of a pen is I'm aware of it, but it doesn't affect me. I don't care. I don't think anyone's impressed if I have a Mont Blanc. I don't think that it's so precious that I need to sequester it away. I use it, I consume it, I enjoy it. I feel the same way about TUES. I mean, sometimes I marvel at my TUES because I like seeing everything that's going on in there. I like how balanced it is. The big thing to change with me in this channel, guys, is that I hardly ever post anymore. I took this to the office today. I had this in my Super Mega I was writing with at the office, and I didn't post it. And I kind of held it in my hand, or I put it on the desk in front of me, and that's a big change for me. Not because I'm trying to preserve pens, but because I like the balance. I like the shorter pen now. It's changed. So Ian Knowles asking about what do I think about vintage pens in general? How do I even go about getting your hands on them? Fantastic question. I like vintage pens. I think they're brilliant. They're different than modern pens in a lot of ways. Their nibs are often softer. They tend to have been a bit more creative with how they use gold often. They sometimes have different sorts of widths to them. Even a medium, you're sort of asking yourself, is this a medium fine? Is this a medium broad? What is this? It's kind of fun. There's a lot more flex and semi-flex in the vintage world. That's all a joy. It's so fun. You could explore forever. Now the other side. They can be incredibly unreliable. They can be very delicate. They can sometimes, they're made of materials that are delicate enough that if you have something on your hands, you can destroy them. I'm thinking about something like hand sanitizer. Like during the pandemic, you hand sanitize up, you're a little goopy, not thinking, grab a pen. Could be disastrous, depending on what it's made out of. Alcohol, let me back up. Unlike me, alcohol and pens do not mix well. So you have to be very careful with alcohol and pens. So I found vintage pens to be very delicate. Often they're lever filled, and the levers will break off. Levers. I always have trouble with that word. I don't know how to pronounce it. So you have to be careful with that. Sometimes the sacks inside deteriorate. I have a bottle of Private Reserve Copper Burst in my ink collection that I put a Jolly Roger on the top, or a Skull and Crossbones. Is that a Jolly Roger? I think it is. And the reason is that if you put it in ink sacks, for whatever reason, it makes them deteriorate, or at least it has with mine. I went through like 2 or 3 different Esterbrook J's that way. So you have to tread lightly. But where would you get them? Peyton Street Pens is a great source. I think they're, let's put a scale of like pricey, kind of expensive, fair, valuous. Well, let's not use value. Let's use bargainous. I would put them to fair to kind of pricey, and occasionally on the expensive side. And the reason is that they fully disclose everything. So if you want something like a Waterman 52 with a flex nib and it's in perfect shape, it could be $700. But it's no, I don't know if it'd be $700. I threw that out, but it's expensive. It could be $500. It depends. I don't want to like disparage them. If a Waterman 52 that's in perfect shape, it's probably worth. I'd pay $700 for it. They stand behind it. When it comes, it is exactly as what they say it is. But what's nice is you get an opportunity perhaps to get one with maybe a chip in the cap that you would never see or really care about for half that price. And they'll put it out, but they'll tell you it'll all be in there. So that's kind of how I go about doing it. The other way is pen shows, which gives me a nice segue because this Saturday is the Commonwealth Pen Show at the, is it Holiday Inn? Holiday Inn in Somerville? I always get that wrong. But it's in Somerville, and the hotel begins with an H. And I will be there at 11, and I'll probably stay for at least 2 hours, if not longer. And I'd love to meet as many of you as I can. It would be fantastic. So if you're in the Boston area, please come out. Excuse me, guys. My voice. After the first half hour, my voice starts to go out on me. So Fountain Pen Hospital. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, is the Fountain Pen Hospital for vintage pens. They're very good. There's also the Fountain Pen Recycler. They are on the fair to bargainous scale. So that's another way to get some pens. Joseph Brown has fact-checked me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I need a fact checker. That it's the Holiday Inn, and it's in Somerville, which is just outside of Boston, just off of Route 93. And it's fun. A lot of interesting people there. So Oh, Joseph actually asked if I was going to Commonwealth Pen Show. I went last year and it was super fun. Super fun. Michael Davis asks if Courtings is owned by Eric Clapton. And yes, it actually is, which is very strange. But from what I heard, the story is that they were going out of business and he bought it to keep it afloat. It's very traditional, which is what I like about it. It's sort of 19th century shopping. It's right in Piccadilly Circus, um, and it's just gorgeous. They have a basement full of menswear, and the top is accessory and women's wear, and it's a lot of like shooting clothes. And I'll never go shooting. Well, I shouldn't say never. I could go in the UK sometimes. Who knows? Get a couple of grouse for dinner. Why not? Why not? Will I be recording at the Commonwealth Pen Show? That is a good question, Joseph. The thing about it and the thing that I'm weighing is that I want to be interacting with people. I want to talk to people. Hopefully, some people are there that I can meet and talk to. I don't want to be one of these people that I'm in my phone when something is going on around me that's amazing. So if my wife is with me or my daughter, then maybe one of them could record for a bit and do a live stream. Or if I spend a little time at a table with someone, like I know Kenra is going to be there. I know Science Notes is going to be there. There's going to be some pretty interesting people there. So maybe I could take a little table time and have a conversation. That would be super fun. So super duper fun. So just looking at your comments. Oh, Joseph Brown's on the staff of the show. I will see you there. That would be great. I would love to meet you. It will be fantastic. I think you'll recognize me by my glasses. Simon asks, how's the Cartier tank been holding up? Can't wait for my left GMT. Yeah, Simon's on the getting the Sprite Rolex left-handed GMT, which is brilliant. Good for you. Yeah, the Cartier tank's great. I love it. It's been getting equal watch time with my GMT. I really like it. I like it sort of dressed down. I'm starting to kind of long for like a 1920s Cartier, like something right at the beginning. That might be something I do one day. But very, very great watch. So I think along with doing pen videos, and I think I would say that if you like one of the pens that are featured, you don't necessarily have to buy it to experience it. One of the ways you can do it is you can go to a pen show and spend a little time with it. You could borrow it from another fountain pen aficionado or go to a store if you happen to have a store near you to demo it and all that. I am feeling a little bit like the emphasis should be on writing and cherishing what you have rather than adding to your collection necessarily, unless you need it and or you want it. I mean, you make those choices for yourselves. But I think that you can watch reviews and sort of enjoy the beauty of a pen and learn about it separate from whether or not you want to buy it. That there's kind of more to it than that. I like being knowledgeable about the things I'm interested in, whether it's watches or pocket knives, which is something else I'm into. Clothes. You guys know I know a lot about clothes. My background on the internet, where Hemingway Jones comes from, I was really into the Indiana Jones fan forum, Club Obi-Wan. I was very active on there, and I still have the full kit. I have the jacket made by Peter Botwright, who made it for Raiders of the Lost Ark. I have two of them, actually. He measured me for it. Beautiful work, just like Harrison Ford's. I have the whip, I have the bag, I have the holster, no gun, but I do have the holster. I have the pants. I don't have the exact shoes, but I just wear my Red Wings. And I have, how many Indiana Jones fedoras do I have? Two now. Two of the official ones made by the guy who made it for the fourth movie. So when I created a name, it was my favorite writer and then Indiana Jones. So that's where I came up with Hemingway Jones. And then from Club Obi-Wan, because after you kind of get everything and know a lot about Indiana Jones and safari clothes, I really got into the Fedora Lounge, which was a vintage clothing forum. It's still out there. I'm still a moderator on there. But you learn so much. I've learned so much about the history of certain items, about the weights of cloth and the drapes and cuts and histories. Just really fascinating stuff. I made really good friends with Bobby from Boston, was a famous guy in the vintage world. Lovely, lovely guy. Passed away a few years back. Lovely, lovely guy. So I came up through the vintage clothes angle. And as you get into the vintage lifestyle, you get into things like typewriters, fountain pens, writing, all that. It just all fits together. Danny G asked, who do I trust to work on my Mont Blancs? I need a nib collar replacement for my 1987 MB146. Well, to be honest, Danny, I've never had to work on any of them. They've all been perfect. I think if something had happened to one, I would have sent it back to them. They do fix. There is a boutique here in Boston that I could go to. Probably would take a few months, but I would probably also send it to someone like the Fountain Pen Hospital in New York. I hear great things about them. So I might do a little research, see if there's anyone else. Years ago, I would have gone to Bromfield Pens in Boston, but they were bought by Apple Bloom. Is it Apple Bloom? And maybe it's pronounced differently. I don't know if they still fix pens, but I used to take the tea, go in, drop off my pens, and pick them up a week later. They fixed all my Esterbrookes. So I don't really have a place right now. So, but if it were a Mont Blanc right now, I'd probably go see them first. So, Matt Swanson says, not even fair. I'm a professional archaeologist and I don't even have a custom jacket. That's super cool. Thanks, Matt, but it's not too late. The Wested Leather Company is still in business. Sadly, Peter passed away a few years back. Lovely guy. Spent some time with him on the Queen Mary. Just a really lovely dude. But he was briefly worked at Churchill's house in the 60s in the English service. So had a lot of great stories. But you can still get one. So you can still send them your measurements, and it's very fair. I think it's like 300 pounds or something like that, 350 pounds. And they're made right in the UK. It's one of the best deals out there. So I definitely recommend Wested Leather. I should probably do a YouTube on them sometime. Excuse me. Rocking the Venetian glass. So we got some more focuses on pens coming up on the channel, some more ideas about pens and writing. You guys are going to see a lot more videos like the Mont Blanc one that we just posted. That one, I'm very proud of that one. I really like the synergy between the music and the vocals and the visuals. The only thing that's frustrating me a little bit as an artist of videos, if you will, is that I'm always using the free music offerings on the YouTube audio library, and they're not always the best. So at some point, I need to figure out how to get some better cuts of classical music. So I'm going to be working on that. There's going to be a lot more on Mont Blanc coming up. Got a follow-up video to the 146, the Flex Nib, and a few others. I think I might do something comparing Sailor to Mont Blanc and things like that. Very different, both awesome pens. I only have one Sailor pen. I feel I am at a loss for that. I'd like to try some more. They are incredibly smooth. I really like smoothness in the writing experience. That's one of the things that I strive for the most. So, speaking of which, Pilot Custom 823 in medium is brilliant. It's so smooth, so much fun to write with. My only criticism of this pen is, well, I have a couple criticisms of the pen, to be frank. We did talk about it a few weeks back on the channel. I wish it had gold around the lip. I do worry about this over time getting brittle and cracking, or if I ever drop it, God forbid. That's one criticism. The other one is, have you guys ever tried to clean one of these? It is not fun. It's not pretty. It takes a long time, and even then, I've yet to get all of it out. But I'm not a stickler for things like that, guys. It would probably appall you if I get most of the ink out, and by most, I mean like you see a couple of drops of what's left, and I flushed it a bunch of times, and I'm like, and I want to fill it. I'll just fill it. That's all. Might write funky for the first second, but that's it. So I'm not a stickler for that. I'm a stickler for other things. So Alfredo just uses the same ink all the time. That's a solution too. I used Mont Blanc Royal Blue in my 149 for like 10 years. So I understand that. I had someone say, and I think it's one of those fountain pen myths. Did I cover this one? I need to write this down. Excuse me, guys. Fountain pen myth. Somebody asked me, are you worried about water corroding your fountain pens? And it's like, am I worried about water corroding a fountain pen? This is full of ink that is much more corrosive than water would ever aspire to be. And when you only use it to flush them, so it's not even really in there for any prolonged time. But what is in here for a prolonged time is extremely corrosive ink. So am I ever worried about water? No, water doesn't concern me. It doesn't. Now, if you have extremely hard water with particulates or something like that, that's a different story. But water, no. So it was cleaning my MB146, Michael Davis says, that killed the piston. I could clean pens every few fills, even when using the same ink. How did it kill the piston? Just from drawing it too much? I could see that. So Toot says, I'm helping him through COVID. Well, I'm happy to hear that I am entertaining you through COVID, my friend. Bounce back quickly. I'm sure you will. You're young and strong, but keep your chin up and keep foraging ahead. Matt Swanson asks what my first fountain pen was and what compelled me to get into them. You know, that's a good question, Matt. I've been thinking about doing another intro video and maybe putting it up, something more conversational, kind of like these lives, or maybe I just do it as a live sometime. But what got me into fountain pens was, I grew up in the 1970s and the 1980s, and they were still around. I had teachers that used them, and I thought they looked really cool. And my version of cool means old fashioned and kind of nerdy. That's what was cool to me. Tweed, leather bound books, the classics, a journal, and a fountain pen, cup of tea. That's cool to me, when everybody else was into other things. So I saw them and I used them occasionally. And then it was probably in the 1990s where I was starting to journal a lot. And I certainly was journaling at work because I take work notes in ledger books. Sorry, guys. And I wanted my handwriting to be nicer. And I thought if I used a nicer pen, I'd have nicer handwriting. I think that's fountain pen myth number 3. And I bought a Waterman. I don't know the model, but it was very elegant. It was black, gold nib, had some gold rings on it, nice cap with a gold clip. Lovely, thin, elegant pen. Lovely. I bought it at the bookstore for Boston University. And I was using it at work, and I was pressing too hard, and the section cracked in half. So no, mine wasn't the Phileas. I have Phileases. Phileases came later. This was around 1993. So it wasn't that. This was a nicer, higher end pen. I spent about $100 for it in 1993, 1994. That was a lot of money. The person I was dating at the time was actually upset with me that I spent that much on a pen. But I broke it in half, guys. And I have it somewhere. It's in a box somewhere. I never threw it away. If I ever find it, I'll know what it was. But that started my love affair with Waterman. And I ended up buying Phileas's and other pens, the Charleston, which is brilliant. And I learned you don't press hard. So that was my experience with pens. Thinking about getting a Waterman. Can anyone tell me how the writing experience compares with, say, a Lamy All-Star? Jess, I can. I can tell you that depending on which Waterman you're looking at, and personally, I really like some of their older offerings, like the 52 is awesome, but they're hard to come by. 52 and a half we were talking about earlier. But find yourself, if you can, the Waterman Charleston. It's in yellow and it has a lovely nib. I'm going to show it to you because I love this pen, guys. And it's quite affordable on the vintage market. These are from the late 90s, I believe. And this one has a fine nib. It's beautiful. It is a really smooth writer. It's a converter, which is a shame. I wonder if I have ink in here. No. But cleaned up pretty well, even in a vintage pen. See how nicely made that is? So this is a brilliant one. The mic's picking up all kinds of screw noises. I could do ASMR. I'm putting the cap on the pen. And now I am putting the pen away. What do you think, guys? Should I start an ASMR channel? Here's another Waterman. This is the Mighty Corrine. I believe this is called Amber. And it has one of my favorite aesthetic nibs. In performance, it's very smooth and it's very lovely, but it's not like extraordinary. But it's a great writer on an elegant pen. Very clean too. And look at this. Look at that, guys. Look at the construction. It's really nice. Look at the gaskets, by the way. I almost feel like I I don't eyedrop pens. You guys know that. But look, looks like you could, right? I'm not telling you to, though, so don't do it and then complain. But look at this pen. It's gorgeous. I always feel like when I use this that I'm some kind of like European businessman, like some, French entrepreneur. This one posts brilliantly. There's not a scratch on it from posting, but it makes it a very concise pen. I highly recommend it. So there's some for you. Very nice ones. Always have to play a little bit of show and tell, but I really like that Waterman Charleston. Or you could get a Phileas. I have a bunch of Phileases. I put them in a box over there. Hey, Judy Anderson. Hello. Nice to see you. Always a pleasure. Judy is a fan, a good friend of the channel. Awesome to see you here. So, did Waterman make the Edson? I don't know, Alfredo. I'm not familiar with that model. I wish I were. So the other thing that's interesting about pens and vintage pens that we were speaking of before is that there's a lot of names that don't necessarily resonate. They might be from Germany or some other country, and they may have a nib equal to a Waterman 52 and be a quarter of the price because they're not a brand that's recognized. So I have like a Wall Oxford, which people know, but it's not super well known. That's just absolutely gorgeous. So really good stuff. Oh, Joseph Brown got the Crane in green. That's so cool. I forgot it came in other colors because it's been a long time since I've owned that. Michael Davis asks, do I use an eyedropper to put ink in my Egyptomania inkwell? No, I don't. I should. I also have a syringe. What I did, I have a jar of Géarbon. How do you say it? Avec éclat de saphir, but sapphire, right? And I just opened it up and poured it in and did a really poor job of seeing the level. And it topped right across the top with the sapphire. But now I'm happy to report it's about halfway down. So I've been using it and using it up, which is very cool. Very, very cool, ladies and gentlemen. So, guys, we are just about at an hour, and I feel like I have rambled long enough. So that was my phone telling me it's going to rain soon. I don't need to know that, but thank you. So I am going to sign off and leave you to have a pleasant evening. I am trying to go live every week now and trying to bring a little more structure to it. So we will definitely be doing this again very soon, guys. So thank you very much for joining the conversation. I'll see you all in the comments. And we have a new video going up on Thursday at noon. And I don't remember which one it is, but I'm sure it's another exciting episode of the Hemingway Jones Pen Show. So thank you, guys. All stay well, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.